and said, oh, there's 3 fast cars approaching. I'm going to move down. But then all of a sudden the 24 drops down to the bottom. He's like, oh crap, I can't do that. And then Kyle Busch is boom, all of a sudden right on the back of him. Yeah, I see it a lot of different ways. I mean, I agree. I think Kyle Busch ultimately made a mistake. Smithley didn't really do anything wrong in that case. And I also don't agree with the personal attack side of it, of Kyle Busch's interviews after the fact. I don't think the situation really needs to get personal against these guys, because as human beings and as young racers trying to make a name for themselves, they're not doing anything wrong. They have a good point too, that if you put them in some of this top equipment, they're more than likely going to run in the top 20. I get that. I just, it's kind of one of those things, like we said with the Saints and the refs, it just all happens so fast. And, one thing being right doesn't make another thing wrong, or vice versa. I think it's just a collection of quick events that happen. Then you look back and go, well, this guy could have done that and this guy could have done that. And yeah, I think Kyle could have made a different decision, but I also think Smithley was like, oh, I should go low. Oh, now Byron's going low. I can't do that. Oh shit. Kyle Busch is right in my bumper. And it just happened so fast.
Yeah. And look, it gives us something to talk about with the sport. It was a story after the week. It got some traction. The guys, they played it up and went after each other on Twitter some. So ultimately, it's not a bad thing for the sport. It gives us something to have an opinion on. So it's not like I want Kyle Busch to stop being Kyle Busch. It's just something I disagree with. But unlike the culture of today, I don't feel like, it needs to be the cancel culture where we need to just try to change Kyle. I just disagreed with him on this particular point. And again, I'm not the one behind the wheel of either one of those cars. So both of those guys probably feel like they're in the right. Kyle's point is probably like, my day got ruined by a guy that's multiple laps down. He should have gotten the hell out of the way. And instead, the front end of my car is jacked up a foot off the ground because I piled into him because I'm running 30 miles an hour faster in the center of the corner. It's a racing incident. I just didn't see any of the other top guys have an issue with that. I think that was my only thing. If this was like the third time this had happened, but I don't remember ever seeing a car on the lead lap just flat run into a lapper that with that much speed to do that much damage, Eric. I mean, I just haven't seen that. And we see guys make mistakes all the time. Suarez made a mistake and ruined Joey's day, put a hole in the front end. So you do see that this stuff happens. These guys misjudge it. But when you're running that much faster, maybe there's a conversation that has to be had with the spotters or something going forward, because you don't want that to happen to these guys and someone's playoffs to be ruined because of an issue with a car that has no shot at that point in the race.
Yeah, I think you're right. It breaks down to a racing incident, right? And these things just happen. These odd things happen. Guys will hit one of the emergency vehicles or hit one of the blow dryers, for crying out loud. You've seen guys get absolutely blasted and run over at places like Darlington when they're trying to pit and the guy behind them doesn't see it and they just runs them right over. You saw in Xfinity the other day, a guy, young racer, who thankfully no one was on pit road because he spun it out and then took it down pit road and then hit the inside of pit road wall. And it's like, there's just racing incidents that happen. And I agree with you. I think there's a bigger problem here too, where I think Kyle gets put in these positions and you clearly can tell that he hates it, because he seems to be the guy that needs 5 or 10 minutes to cool down after a race. But in NASCAR, you're not given that opportunity like they are in F1. The F1 has a rule, I believe, that I don't know how many minutes it is, but the media can't interview you for a certain cooling down period. NASCAR doesn't have that. So maybe if they did, Kyle Busch would be calmed down enough not to say something right in the moment when he's stepping out of his car and he's clearly upset, that is going to come back to being a Twitter fight later and a news story for Jeff Gluck and those guys. And I agree with you. That's how Kyle Busch is. And I wouldn't want to change him. I'm a Kyle Busch fan because I think he's going to make mistakes on the racetrack by being overly aggressive. And you know what? He's also going to win 200 races by being that way too. And so I agree with you. I wouldn't want to take that away from him. That's going to do it for episode 305 of Talk Back. Thanks for hanging with us for a plethora of NFL news and notes, talk-worthy subjects, and, of course, overtime out of the NASCAR world. We're going to the second race of the NASCAR playoffs as well as week 3 of the NFL and keeping our eye on the NBA upcoming season. So we'll have a lot of that talk in the weeks ahead. We hope you have a great weekend. We'll talk back at you next week. Thank you for listening to this episode of Talk Back. Staying current on sports is our #1 goal, so we drop a new episode each Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or the podcatcher of your choice. For more info about the show, to meet the hosts, or to partner with us on future episodes, please visit talkbackfantalk.com. We really enjoy hearing your take on the world of sports, even when you disagree. After all, this show is dedicated to you, the fans. So get direct access to us on Twitter using @TalkbackJustin and @TalkbackEric. Check out our corporate feed on Twitter and Instagram using the handle @TalkbackFanTalk. We hope you have a great week. We'll talk back at you next time.